Welcome to Even Tacos Fall Apart, where we talk about navigating the ups and downs of life with a focus on mental health. I'm MommaFoxFire, and today we are talking about veterans, PTSD, burnout, and identity loss. And what we're getting into today is way bigger than any one group of people, so keep listening even if you're not a veteran. But speaking of veterans, about 30% who serve in combat zones develop PTSD. PTSD doesn't only come from war, though. It comes from trauma, and trauma doesn't care what job you have or how tough you think you are. Meanwhile, veteran suicide rates remain significantly higher than the general population, and that gap has barely budged in years, despite all the awareness campaigns and the phone numbers and the ribbons, so clearly awareness alone isn't cutting it. And then there's burnout. Not just being tired, not just having a rough week. Burnout where your body starts sending you signals you can't ignore anymore. Back pain out of nowhere, relationships falling apart, lying awake at 2 a.m. running the same loop in your head. A lot of veterans transition out of service and walk straight into high-pressure corporate environments, and they bring every coping mechanism they learned in the military with them. Push through. Stay hard, don't show weakness, and for a while, that still works until it really, really doesn't. And then there's the identity piece. When your entire sense of self is built around being a soldier, being the one who handles things, being the toughest person in the room, what happens when that's gone? What happens when you leave service and nobody in a job interview knows what your rank meant or what you actually did over there? What happens when the version of yourself you are most proud of doesn't translate to the world you're living in now? That's a specific kind of loss that absolutely needs more airtime. My guest today is Omar Ritter. He's a West Point grad and a Bronze Star recipient who led soldiers in Iraq and Kosovo, spent 20 years working at places like JP Morgan and Wells Fargo, survived an 18-hour brain surgery, and came out the other side, finally willing to deal with everything he'd been carrying. Omar is not going to give you a polished motivational speech. He really talks through the truth about what it actually looks like when someone who has done everything right by every external measure is still completely falling apart on the inside. He talks about the moment his identity started cracking. He talks about the difference between real resilience and just white-knuckling your way through something. He talks about a loss so devastating it still keeps him up at night, and why it's a big part of why he decided to finally share his story. The conversation you're about to hear is honest, it's real, and it covers some very heavy ground. But it also has some really funny moments, and it ends in a place of hope. All right, enough from me. Here is my conversation with Omar Ritter. There we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Mental Health Monday. I am super excited to be here tonight. As always, we are here live on both Twitch and YouTube, ready to talk tonight about something that we haven't talked about in a little while. We're talking about veterans, PTSD, burnout, and identity loss. And I don't think we've talked about that last one in the context of veterans before, so I'm excited to get into that. But today I am joined by Omar Ritter. He is a West Point grad, a Bronze Star recipient, and someone who has lived through what most of us only hear about in movies. Omar led soldiers in Iraq and Kosovo and then moved into the corporate world at places like JP Morgan and Wells Fargo. But his real transformation came after surviving an 18-hour brain surgery and finally confronting years of PTSD. He realized that the old playbook, just be tough, push through, doesn't actually work. And now he is on a mission to help veterans and high-performing professionals understand that real resilience isn't about grit alone. It's about gratitude, it's about authenticity, and having the courage to admit when you're struggling. So Omar, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me on MommaFoxFire, and I look forward to getting into the conversation. And really, if I just help one person out today with my message, then my work has been fulfilled for today.
I love that. And I always feel the same way. I always feel the same way. If I can reach one person, that makes it all worth it. So, with that in mind, if you guys would like to connect with Omar, I just posted some socials. There's a website, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, book, and an audio book that just released this week. So, there's a link to that too. Go check it out and make sure to engage, like a post, comment on something, share a post whenever you get there. That really is, like we're just saying, that's what lets us know that what we're doing makes a difference. So make sure that you're engaging whenever you do get there. We are talking, as I mentioned, about veterans, PTSD, burnout, and identity loss. So if you are here live and you would like to ask a question, I just opened the question queue. Feel free to drop your question into the chat and we'll make sure to get it addressed while we are here and live. And Omar, while we were kind of getting rolling here, I would love to know what inspired you to start sharing your story?
What inspired me to start sharing my story is the fact that I suffered for so long, and I was finally in a position after working 20 years on Wall Street, medically retired from the military, that I really wanted people to not go through the trauma, the pain, et cetera, that I went through for so long. And for me, it became, if you're gonna tell your story, it's gotta be now, not when, right? So I had thought so long about telling my story, but I had finally gotten the help that I needed, and it just put it at the forefront of my mind to really put it out there that you can fight this disease, you can get healthy. You just have to raise your hand and say that you need help and go get that help.
Yeah. The the perspective of like you've gotta share it now. It's not a matter of waiting and deciding when the
That's
time
right.
is right. I think that that's something that a lot of people maybe obsess over, like, when is it gonna be perfect for me to share? And the reality is you just gotta start. You just gotta start. You gotta start somewhere. You gotta start sometime. And the
That's
best
right.
time to do that is now. So I appreciate you being willing to share your story and be here with us today.
Yeah, I mean, I had so many losses that took place among not just my friends in the military, but also friends in the corporate world as well who were suffering from being in high stress environments, taking their own lives, going out taking risk and losing their lives doing something really risky. And so I felt like I needed to put this message out there for folks to let them know it's just not a veteran problem. It's just not a combat arms veteran problem or somebody that fought in the war, but it's also a high stress problem and an everyday trying to deal with the situations of life problem, right? I think one third of people have some sort of effects of mental health, whether it be anxiety, PTSD, etc. And it needs to become a conversation at the forefront.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. Y'all know I agree with that 100%. So 1,000%. Like all of it, all of it, all of it needs to be talked about. Needs to be talked about. Needs to be not swept under the rug, for sure.
Right.
488 Blue, I see you guys in the chat. If y'all have any questions, feel free to drop them in there. Thank you for being here. Appreciate y'all. Omar, do you have a true crime story that fascinates you?
Yeah, I actually have a real true crime story that actually, really got under my skin, and again, it was one of those things that pushed me to put this book out. So my gunner from Iraq actually suffered from PTSD, and it was unbeknownst to me. And it was one of those situations where you're talking on Facebook, you're talking on the telephone, seeing how folks are doing, they're telling you that they're doing well, and all along, like this guy had gone through a divorce, etc. And he was so mad at his that his ex- at his ex-wife, he ended up committing suicide. But not only did
Mm,
he commit suicide, he actually took his children with him, for this, right? And what I would say to folks is, I know for a fact that my friend did not do this, right? What happened for him is that I like to compare PTSD and mental health disorders, especially when they go awry, to hijackers in the cockpit, otherwise known as our brain. So his cockpit was hijacked and it forced him to commit like the most heinous of actions against these children. And it's just really sad that it had to come to this. And we always say, man, I wish I would have known, man, I wish I would have had a conversation. And so for me, I get tired of hearing that. And so what I'm trying to do is let's push the conversation. Let's not have it be a one-off conversation, but also let's let folks know that it's okay to raise their hand and go get some help, because it doesn't matter how many conversations we have, how many mental health clinics we open, how many phone lines we open. If the individual that's being impacted never goes and receives that treatment and never makes that phone call, it's just a bunch of wasted effort, right? So had he known and had it been drilled into his mind that it was okay for him to seek the help he desperately needed, we might not have been where we are with this, right? So I just something that keeps me up at night thinking about it.
Yeah. The true crime story in my life, one of the true crime stories in my life is very similar. My grandfather killed himself, and I strongly believe, and that's a big part of my why, but I strongly believe that if he had known it was okay to talk about mental health and okay to go seek help. He was a retired fireman. He'd been in the fire service for 40 years, and it was just like, that's a very macho, similar to the military, very macho mindset at the time, especially. And I really think if he had known that it was okay to get help and that that was a thing that is actually a strength rather than a weakness, that he would still be here. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
it just hijacks your
I
brain,
think about the
100%.
yeah, I think about the times that I've thought about taking my own life, thinking that I'm worthless to the world and, et cetera. And at the time, I'm working at JP Morgan Chase, like I'm an executive in finance, right? And so everyone else from the outside looking in says, man, this guy, he's got it going on, he's got a great career, et cetera. But on the inside, I'm burning up because I'm competing with everybody at the firm for the top position. And because I'm not in that top position, there's something wrong with me. I'm not good enough. And then I wish I wouldn't have spent that time in the army. It messed me up. And so I'm thinking about leaving this earth. And then, really what should have been thinking about was just having gratitude for being in the position, that I was in. And therapy has helped me get there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, therapy is helpful all around, right? Like that's
Right.
it's a
Exactly.
big thing, but everybody needs to understand like it's okay to go get therapy. And then,
Hmm.
we got
Hmm.
we got to get
That's
we got
right.
to get there first. But one other thing that you said that I just want to kind of touch on, I 2 weeks before this happened with my grandfather, I saw him in person, and like we talked, we had a great conversation. Everything seemed like it was fine.
Right.
People only show you what they want you to see. Like you're talking to your friend on Facebook ahead of this happening, and then this comes out of the blue, right? I'm talking to my grandfather. Everything's fine. He's buying Girl Scout cookies from my oldest. Like
Right. Yeah.
everything is fine, and then boom, out of the blue. You only see so much of other people's lives. There's no way for someone to look at you and say, I know what's going on in Omar's head, right? There's no way for someone to look at me and be like, I know what's going on in Mama's head, unless you're my sister and she has a weird ability to do that. So that's like the only person in the world, right? But yeah, it's you only see what people put forward, first of all, and then you also just don't have access to their thinking. It's hidden.
Yeah.
It's hidden
You don't have
always.
access to your thinking. And oh, by the way, you're focused on your own life for the most
Yes.
part too. Like
Yep.
what's going on with you and your family, right? And your everyday struggles trying to make it.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like we've come a really long way in recent years. This happened in 2017, so almost 10 years ago. I feel like since then, a lot has happened. A lot has come. We made a lot of strides towards everyone understanding that it's okay to talk about mental health. Do you feel the same way for veterans? Has there been progress? Is it still really difficult for veterans and in particular men to talk about mental health?
I think that it's really for men in particular and for veterans even more so to talk about mental health, especially that veteran that's trying to, exit the military and then go
Mm,
on to corporate America, right? So they're worried about maybe being found out or having something in their file, etc. But I also think there's just not enough men out there who've been like through corporate careers or entrepreneurial careers, and even long-term veterans like has general sergeant majors, whatever, that are talking about this subject. I mean, we see the Lance Armstrongs, we see the movie stars talking about it. We see the 15-time gold medal swimmer talking about their struggles. And what I like to think about is like, they can afford to talk about their mental health because in a way that kind of boosts, the number of eyes looking at them, etc. Whereas if you're every day trying to go out there, feed your family, you don't necessarily want to be on podcasts or writing books about mental health while you're trying to like navigate a corporate organization and get promoted. And so because of that, we hold it in. And heaven forbid that you take some time off from a job because of mental health, and people will make fun of you like what's the matter with that guy? He can't hold it together, etc. So yes, I do think that there's a stigma around really coming out and revealing like what you got going on and getting some help.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely seeing all the celebrities, on the one hand, it's in my mind, it's like, okay, that's great. High profile people talking about this when it could have an impact on their careers. But at the same time, it's more eyes on them. It's a bigger audience.
That's right.
Now they're getting news stories written about them. All publicity is good publicity, unless you're not in a situation where publicity is good.
That's right. And like I said, I'm not judging their pain
Yeah.
definitely by my pain, like because I'm sure that there's like a lot of pain there and it's good that
Mhm.
they're speaking about it. But what I'm more concerned about, Mama Foxfire, is, the good people watching this video and the good people that are on this line listening to us who have careers, jobs, they're entrepreneurs, etc., the everyday people. There are places that we can go, lines that we can call to get help for free. And for a lot of us, we're actually paying into a system that's supposed to be taking care of us in corporate America, but also in the military, where we're supposed to be able to go in and get that treatment and no one else is supposed to know about it, right? And so I just want to call out the people that is in fact the case. Like you can actually go get that help at your job, go get that help in the military, and you don't need to tell anybody about that help you're receiving. And oh, by the way, if you're worried about, oh, why am I get kicked out of the military, or this other thing, right? If you're doing something that's detrimental to your health, I just want you to realize that like in this world, there's thousands of things that we can do for employment. So I would say like don't let your health suffer, always thinking about the almighty, dollar, right? Because that can sometimes really stop us from taking those steps, but I would also say you can be working, still get that treatment, and come out on the other end better and not lose, your career, and in fact, excel your career because you went and got that help you needed to be the very best you at work.
Yeah. Yeah. We talked about this briefly in your intro, but take us back to that moment after your brain surgery when you realized you couldn't keep running from your PTSD. What was going through your mind?
Well, a couple things. Number 1, I was starting to address my PTSD at the time from the war in Iraq and being in Kosovo, and some of the battle scars that were in there. And just as I was starting to address it, I found out that I had a brain tumor the size of a golf ball and I had to have emergency brain surgery. And so my focus became no longer on PTSD. It became focused on getting healthy from the brain surgery. I had to learn how to walk again, run again. Half my face was paralyzed. And also, I got put out of the military. So I had to think about what my next career was going to be at the same time. So it wasn't like, let me have the brain surgery, let me get some treatment. That's not what happened. What happened is the brain surgery happened. I needed to get better. I need to find a new way to make money, but I also need to take some time off. What's going to solve that for me? And it became going to business school. So I threw a bunch of effort into getting healthy and going to business school. Ended up getting into Columbia, business school in New York. And it was from there, those 2 years that I spent really trying to move on to my next career, which I worked for 20 years before I actually stopped and got help, which is why I'm talking to you now with all this white hair on my face, right? Because the trials and tribulations, the stress that I went through trying to navigate corporate America while having very strong signs of PTSD, suicidal thoughts, etc. And what that was causing me to do, Mama Foxfire, if I can tell you, is I was a type of worker. Every 3 years, I would change jobs. I would get fed up with something, and I would just leave and go to a new job. And what I found out, that was me just trying to escape being in normalcy, because every time I switched a new job, I had to focus on learning that job, becoming really good at it, et cetera. And once I got to the point where I could relax, I wanted to go do something else.
Mm,
Sure.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting because so I've been with the same company for tw 13, 12, 13, 14 years. This will be 14 years, I think, this year. But every couple of years, I change jobs within the company. And because
Mhm.
I get kind of in a similar position where I'm like, I'm too comfortable. I need to go do something else that is gonna challenge me, that's gonna keep me engaged, or I'm just gonna float. I'm just gonna like be untethered and float around like a little balloon. But yeah,
Right.
I mean, I definitely understand that feeling, even though I've been with the same company. It just happens to be a very large company.
That is anxiety.
Yeah,
And I and 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 I
100%.
will tell you that, like, I've worked at JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, TIAA Cref, Conduit. Uh, I've worked for the Koch brothers at Coke. I've worked for some of the largest companies in the world, like 80,000 plus people. Trust me, they got enough jobs for me to do at the company to bounce around for probably your life and my life. I wanted a whole new t-shirt, sweater, zip code. I was trying to move to a new city, country,
Wow.
uh, whatever, right? That's the kind of movement I was talking about,
Yeah.
right? If I had a girlfriend, I was gonna uproot and do something else, someplace
Mm,
else, and
yeah.
reinvent myself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, you're dead on that it's anxiety. Like that, at least for me. I won't say for everyone
Right.
who does that, but at least for me, it's definitely anxiety, 100%. And
Mhm.
I've talked to my therapist about that too. But so you're kind of talking about PTSD. So on the day to day for you now, do you still experience some symptoms of PTSD?
But you know what's interesting, Mama Foxfire, is there's a couple things I got going on. One is I go to therapy once a week on Wednesday. So tomorrow, no, sorry, 2 days from now, it's a therapy day for me. And even though I've been doing this therapy for almost 2 years, every Tuesday I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get out of the therapy. But every Wednesday I show up to the therapy. It's like going to the gym, right? Like
Yeah.
every time I go to the gym, like, what needs to be done? Some housework, something needs to be done before I head to this gym. And then once I get there, I'm cool, right?
Hmm.
So it's the same thing with my therapy, right? And it's at the point now where I'm talking to my therapist. We may not even mention the word PTSD or anxiety, et cetera. We may just talk about what I got going on in the business and what podcast am I coming on. We may spend 45 minutes just shooting, the breeze about whatever, and then the phone's over. But I feel so much better that I've like actually had the opportunity to give some relief. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I do have medication, and I take that medication now every day before I go to bed. I used to take it in the morning, but it just made me groggy all day, so I stopped taking it in the morning. So it took me a while to figure that out, right? So I take the medication at night. It helps me sleep better, and I wake up ready to go. So what I would tell you is every day before I go to sleep, I have to make a decision and commit to that decision to take my medication. And when I take my medication, I do feel like I'm gonna have a trigger. But the difference is like on the medication, I notice when I'm triggered and I'm
Mm.
able to look on the outside of myself and say, wait a minute, this isn't that serious. Like, take a deep breath. So I'll give you an example. So the other day, I have a man cave, and my wife's dog. It's my wife's dog. I guess it's my dog, but it's really her dog. and the dog went into my man cave and took a big dump, right?
Oh, no.
And I would tell you, 3 years ago, that would have set me on fire. Nobody in the house would be getting any sleep. I'd be mad, etc. The other day, I was like, "Hey, babe, like your dog pooped on my man cave, can you go clean that up?" And so I was mad for about a minute and a half, but I took my minute and a half of madness and went to go sit in a separate room, and then I got over it, right?
Mhm.
I didn't need a drink. I didn't need to carry on the issue. After 2 minutes, it was done, and we moved on with life, right? As opposed to it escalating into a bigger argument, and now we're not talking for a week, et cetera, right? So I do feel it when it's coming.
Yeah, yeah. Do you feel like the therapy has helped you more, the medication has helped you more? What treatments have actually, like, worked for you?
Listen, I can't tell you exactly what. I think they're both working equally. I don't think, for me at least, that therapy alone would do it,
Mm,
right? I just need that extra oomph that the medication gives to me and my brainwaves that say, "This is not a big deal."
yeah.
And when I say this is not a big deal, I mean everything from the dog pooping in my man cave to somebody telling me I got this tight deadline that I need to meet. I'm able to step back and say, "Is it that serious?" Or I love to be on time. In fact, I love to be ahead of time. And so even now, like running my own business, I like to over impress people. But even now, I'm like, wait a minute. We said this is going to be due on Wednesday. I'm not turning it in on Monday. I might turn it on Tuesday night, but I'm definitely not going to like overexert, stay up till 3 a.m. to do this for no reason, right? So it's really helped me take a step back and stop being so hyper vigilant.
Yeah, yeah.
And I can see it. And I can feel it.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah, sometimes that medication is just what you need to help get it under control and maintain that control a little bit, for sure.
Right, exactly. Even if it's the fact I mean, it could probably be like a water pill or a fake medication. It
Little
still makes me
placebo.
think about, "Dude, what are you doing?" Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? It makes me think, "Man, you taking this medication, there's no way you're supposed to be getting upset about this."
Mhm. Yeah. So before all of this, how much of your identity was wrapped up in being the guy who could handle anything, and what happened when that identity started cracking?
Huh. Yeah, my identity was the guy who just gets things done.
Yeah.
Like, no matter whether it's at 3 a.m. in the morning, whatever, I just get things done, and it made me a successful banker. I mean, I can remember my managing director when I was working in investment banking say, "Hey, I got a 6 a.m. flight. I need these documents dropped off to me at 3 a.m." "Sure, boss. Give me the passcode to your house. It'll be right there." Right? So I'd finish the work, take a black car, to his home, passcode in his gate, drop the documents, and he would have those documents, and I'd be
Wow.
back up at work the next day at 9 a.m. I've had times where I would stay overnight at work, grind, go down to Brooks Brothers, buy a suit, and come back to the office with no sleep. I've also had nights where I've worked till 1 a.m., 2 a.m. and said, "Hey man, let's go clubbing. Like we're in New York. Let's go hit the club. Let's party all night." And I'll come back to work the next day with no sleep. Right. And so that was the life that I was living, like wherever somebody needs me to be, I'm going to be there, whoever I need to support, whether that's my boss or a team member, etc. Like I'm going to be there to help them out. But at the same time, I was absent in taking care of myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Very external. I mean, that being driven by external factors is a huge thing, right? Like, just the kind of like, okay, you need this to be done. I can get it done, whatever it takes. Fine. Like, I'm your man, right? I'll get it. I'll get it done.
That's right.
So what
That's right. And
happened?
I wanted to be the man. I wanted a plaque, a statue, whatever they were
Yep.
handing out, 20 a month, whatever it was. I wanted it.
Yeah. So what happened that identity started breaking down for you?
So I would say the identity for me really broke down when I had my first child, right?
Mm.
And I can remember when my kid was born. A week after my kid was born, I had this huge presentation that I had to do at the bank. And like the CEO was gonna be there, the auditorium was gonna be full, and I was hosting the presentation. I left my wife at home with a week-old
Oh my
child
gosh.
to do like this presentation. And this is way before medication, way before and I'm like, what the hell are you doing, bro? Like this is ridiculous, right? And so she let me know about it, number
I'll bet.
1, but then yeah, but then I also realized, man, you got a limited amount of time on this earth, like, they're not gonna say, "Omar did this great presentation at the bank back in 2021," like, who cares? Nobody remembers that presentation. It's a bank, so it's not even on film anywhere, like, literally, no one cares. And so, at that time, really started feeling like, wait a minute, man, you have to reprioritize yourself a little bit. You got this little girl that you need to be focused on spending more time with. Stop raising your hand for everything, right? So that started the crumbling. And then once I realized I needed to get help and I got that help, I realized that I'm not defined by which big white shoe organization that I'm working for or by the title on my door or the name on my desk. Like I'm defined by myself and like the product that I can provide. And I'm fortunate enough to, be a certified public accountant, know a lot about being a CFO from, years in industry that I can go at myself and I don't have to, do everything to please everyone. I know how much money I need to make, and that's my goal to make that amount, and then after that, I do what I wanna do, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's been a journey because I tell you, when I first left Wells Fargo, I was crushed, I couldn't get out of bed,
Yeah.
because I was no longer at a big bank, that check wasn't coming in anymore, but I felt so much better, and to this day, I get calls to go work for, and I'm like, "Nah, man, I'm good." Like, I'm not gonna if I continue to do it your way and not my way, I'm not going to live to see 75, 80 years old, and I'm trying to live to be 100, so I'm gonna do it my way.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, how did that burnout compare to what you had experienced in the military?
It's different, right? And the reason why it's different is because for me, the military was my sisterhood, brotherhood. It was my everything, right? We're all going through the same thing, right? And so I'm not sitting around thinking that I'm an imposter, right? I'm not sitting around thinking about what does everybody think about me because I know that if I execute the way that I'm supposed to execute, people are going to take notice and I'm gonna earn that respect, right? From both like my commanders, but also from my subordinates, right? So they're not going to just be saluting me for my rank; they're going to be saluting me because they respect me as well. In corporate, a little bit different. There's 2 types of people out there in corporate. There's the people that care about the folks that work for them and the people that care about their career, right? And there's not very many people that are in between that. And so in the firms that I worked at, I always felt like you needed to be watching your back because there's a line around the corner for people that want your position or people that
Mm.
want to use you as a stepping stone. Now, I will fully admit, a big part of that was my anxiety. A big part of that was everything that comes with PTSD, but it was still out there. And people that did not go to the military or fighting a war are still suffering from all of the politics that goes on at various companies in the United States, specifically large, companies, right? Where people do sometimes use you to advance their own cause. And so, the difference was in the military, I'm with my brothers and sisters, and in the corporate world, sometimes you feel like you're on an island just trying to get by, and there's not a whole lot of support there because in the past they didn't really market that well-being, that support. Like that's a big thing they're talking about now, but even 5 years ago they weren't talking about that.
Yeah. Is there a big difference between burnout and just being tired or stressed?
Huge difference. Like being tired, you get some sleep, you feel good, right? And so if you're tired, take your vacation, go take a nap. Like you have vacation days, take them, go take a nap. Stress. I mean, your body, like if you're tired, you just want to go to sleep. If you're stressed out, it can come out in so many ways: headaches, weird illnesses, sorenesses across like your body. It can start to affect your relationships with your loved ones, family, etc. Right? Nobody ever messes up a relationship with a family member just because they need a nap. It doesn't happen, right? And so, stress can just rear its ugly head. I can remember being 35 years old and in perfect shape, just so stressed out. I woke up one day and my back just went out on me because I was just stressed, and there was no reason. I didn't
Mhm.
have back issues, just my back just went out on me because I was so stressed that I had a sharp pain going from my neck down to my back. So, stress is serious. People die from stress. Heart attacks are caused from stress. Aneurysms are caused from stress, right? And so we really got to take a step back and say stress can lead to things that can really unlife you very quickly,
Yeah.
right? And that's even a little bit different from what we're talking about, PTSD, anxiety, which add on to the stress, make it seem like super stress. By the way, right? And so anybody can get stressed out. You don't need to have anxiety or PTSD or whatever, but you have to definitely keep an eye on stress. It's just not too much stress is just not worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. And boy, your body does manifest it in some weird ways too. I've
Oh yeah.
looked back at some periods of my life and I'm like, huh, I'll bet that was actually stress related. I'll bet that, that rash that I had was actually just stress related because boy, it sure did go away pretty quick after I got out of that
Yeah.
situation. And it does,
Right.
like, aches and pains and inflammation even. Like there's all kinds of studies and everything that talk about stress and the stress hormones in your body and what they do to interact with your organs, what they do to interact with your nervous system. All of it is connected, and it just all kind of goes through there.
Right. I mean, it's your body telling you, dude, or
Yeah,
slow down. Like, so I'm giving you a warning sign. Please heed the warning sign that I'm giving you.
100%, 100%. A lot of veterans talk about losing their sense of purpose after leaving service. And I know that you went from leading troops and now we're talking about you in the corporate world. What was that transition like for you?
For me, I felt like it was a good transition, but not for the reasons that folks may think, right? So when I got out of the military, I knew that I needed something else to give me purpose. And I was able to find that by volunteering at the Boys and Girls Club, right? So I started working with at-risk youth, right, to give them my view of the world. And so no matter how busy I've gotten in my corporate career, I've always volunteered at various organizations, right? So right now I'm on the board for North Carolina Veterans Business, and so we're trying to help veterans who are entrepreneurs, but also work with the state for veterans benefits to incentivize veterans to stay. But I've also sat on the boards of Teach for America, and these are boards where you got to get your hands a bit dirty, right? So Teach for America and Down Syndrome Association of Greater Charlotte, right? So working with folks with Down syndrome trying to raise money. So I would say to folks like sometimes you got to go out and find your own purpose, because the military puts a purpose there, which is to protect this great nation, serve this great nation. So you need to go far to do that. You put that uniform on, people are telling you thank you for your service. You're doing a job for this country. So now you have purpose and your job, like they're connected, right? Now you get out of the military, you go to a bank. Now you're there to make money, right? That's your that's your job to make money. You have a purpose, right? It's to make money. And so I knew very early on that I wanted to, dedicate a few hours of my time a week to continue to serve the communities that I live in, right? To show kids that, hey, the military, it's an option. I went to a public school. It's taken me to heights I could never even imagine. And so you might want to think about that too. I got a funny story for you. So I was in Wichita, Kansas, and I was a counselor at a boys and girls club, big brothers, big sisters as well. And so I got a kid that was assigned to me, and I was his big brother. His name was Shimon. Never forget him. So Shimon was ninth grader, 5'4", 95 pounds, soaking wet. And I said to him, I said, "Hey man, so what do you want to do when you grow up? Like, what's your plans post high school?" And he's like, "Oh, I want to go to the NBA." And so I look at him, not to bust his ball, but I was like, "Hey man, just so you know, like you're 5'4", you're not on the basketball team at the school, you didn't make the team. I don't know if that's an option for you." But I said, "Hey man, maybe I'm incorrect. So this is what I want you to do. I'm gonna pick you up after school and we're gonna go to the basketball court. We're gonna play a little one-on-one, a little 1v1. Let's see what kind of game you got." I stumped this kid out. I had to stump him out. I had to. And I was like, "Brother, man, listen, bro. You can't even beat a 30-year-old guy in basketball. You ain't going to the NBA, right? But, but did you like the BMW that I drove you here in? Oh, yes, sir. Your car is beautiful. Did you like stopping by my apartment to like grab some food, when you come by with your mom and dad? Like, do you, yeah, I really love your place." I'm like, "Well, great. Let me tell you a secret. I went to college. I majored in mechanical engineering. And when I graduated, I went to the military. And then when I got out of the military, I majored in finance. And now I'm a certified public accountant. That's how I make my money. I'm a certified public accountant." And he's like, "Oh, nobody ever told me about that." That same guy, Shimon, today is a senior manager at a big four accounting firm. And the guy's made it, right? And so, you mentor people, you help people just like in the military, like you do with that E1 private straight out of basic training, and you turn around and that guy's a sergeant's major. Like my driver in Iraq that I talk about in my book, West Point to Wall Street, My Journey to Mental Wellness, he retired as sergeant major, and now he's a reverend for a big church in Puerto Rico. And so you see people like grow and you're like, "Man, I was able to touch that guy." Another story for you. I got a note on LinkedIn the other day from this guy I never know. He's like, "Hey Omar, listen, I don't know you. I just gave you a nod back in the day at Praxair, but one day I pulled up next to your car and it was a nice car. I saw your golf clubs in the back, and I always wondered what that guy does." And so I looked you up on LinkedIn, and that's where I friended you. This is like 12 years ago. That's where I friended you and found out that you were like a CPA, you did finance, you went to Columbia. And so I wanted to do what you did. So I ended up going to NYU Stern, getting a CPA license. And he's like, "I read your book. I loved it. And it feels like I was there with you through some of that." So this guy was reflecting on the fact that I helped him unbeknownst to me,
Yeah.
right, to achieve some goals in his life. And so it goes to say, like, people in the getting out of the military, it doesn't need to be like that. Like, you have so many talents that people wanna be able to share with you, and just get out there and share those talents with your community, with the world, etcetera. Don't rely on your company to do that for you because very rarely is that gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah. You said it perfectly earlier. A company, it's just a job. Like it's not, they're not going to help you. They're not going to give you that sense of purpose that if your job is your identity and you're in the corporate world, like you're going to need another driver. You're going to need another driver there.
You're gonna need something else. Like,
Mhm.
it's not gonna fill your cup.
Yeah.
Like, it may
100%.
fill your bank account, it ain't gonna fill your cup.
Yeah, it'll buy you a very nice cup.
That's
But
right.
then you
That's
then you
right.
got to do something like sharing your story and or having a
Gotta do
podcast
something else.
or whatever it is
Yeah,
that you're wanting to do. Do you feel like it's difficult for a lot of veterans to rebuild their identity whenever their whole lives were their career or their service?
absolutely. I do feel like it's difficult because I remember when I was first, getting out of the military, and even though I had gotten into business school, when I started the interview process, it was interesting because the first thing I would say was veteran, military, Bronze Star, Valor Device, combat action badge, and the person talks and be like, "What the hell are you talking about? Like, what? Like, what does that mean to me?" Right? Like, great war story. I appreciate that. But tell me how you're gonna help me do financial analysis at Bank of America, right? Because that's who I need to bring in as an intern. And so for me, it felt like, man, what a kick in the chest. All these things I did in the military, now I'm out here trying to interview. And since these jobs aren't hands on, like it's not a physical job, it's a job where you need to sit behind a computer, go to some meetings and do some analysis. They're not really valuing that. So I had to reframe what I was telling them. So I had, instead of saying scout leader, frontline battlefield, I would say, hey, my job in the military was to move ahead of the forces and strategically assess the battle space and report back to our brigade commander, who was like the CEO, what was going to be happening as we continue to move forward. And with this analysis, we were able to make very strategic decisions in order to lead us to victory, which is something that I hope to bring to your firm when I come in, do the financial analysis, see where different firms stack up to help CEOs make a decision on whether to buy, sell, hold, et cetera, right? And so what we have to do as transitioning military is not get mad about our story and not feel insulted. We need to reframe our story so civilians can understand what the heck we're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, that reframe is really important. Was it
Really quickly.
Did you get like some feedback that kind of clued you into that or was it just like you picked up this
I
isn't working?
No, no, no. I got some feedback. And so I was fortunate enough to have another veteran around while I was giving my elevator pitch. And he was like, "Oh no, bro. That elevator, yeah, that elevator pitch is horrible, man. Like you just talked about CIB, Cav, Scouts, Brigade. That guy has no idea what the heck you're talking about. Matter of fact, that guy is from Germany, right? You didn't know what you're talking about. Besides just trying to decipher your English, like he's just trying to figure out like, what do you mean? And so he was like, he informed me, I need you to go back to your hotel room, work on your pitch, and don't come back down here and network until you're done with it. Because what you're gonna do is really soil your story and you're going to take away from the value that you can provide these companies in terms of leadership, mentorship, stability, and maturity, right? And so you
Right.
need to focus on those things. And so I did get kicked in the chest, but what I've been able to do is come on shows like this, but also mentor different veterans and tell them the same thing before they get kicked in the chest. Like reframe the story, man. Like no one understands what you're saying here. I
Yeah.
At this point, being in corporate America since 2006, I don't understand when somebody comes to me with a military resume. I'm like, I don't even know what this means at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. So we had a great community question that was sent in ahead of time. It's a little bit long, but I'm just gonna read what was sent. Talking about mental health and gratitude sounds good in theory, but in the military, showing weakness like that gets you passed over for promotions. How much do you have to temper the advice you give now versus the advice you would give to someone still active in the military?
Yeah, and so what I would say to that is right there's two things. Number one, if you have a mental health issue and it's serious and you're thinking about harming yourself or harming others, you should not be worried so much about a promotion as you should be worried about your own safety, well-being, being locked in a cell, or, you know, like being something very bad happening to you, your family, your friends, etc., because you're going untreated, right? Like jobs, whether it's the military or not, they come and go, right? If you need some help, get that help, right? I'm going to say that again. If you need some help, get that help. Deal with the rest of the stuff later on as a healthy person, because then things become much clearer. Like it did in life, there's never a black and a white decision. Life is full of grays, and mental health issues makes everything black and white. If I do this, this is going to happen. Well, you don't know that, right? So that's number one. Number two, what I would say is, you can get that help without telling anybody, right? You can go to the military hospital, see a therapist and start having some therapy sessions, whether it's in person, on phone, via Zoom, etc. Nobody needs to know your personal medical business at all, right? Just make sure that if that's what your prerogative, you can't have it both ways. You can't say, "I don't want anybody to know," and then schedule your calls when you're supposed to be at work on post in the motor pool, right? Like, you can't do both, right? So, you need to figure out how you can schedule it in such a way where you're not getting in the way of the job that you're supposed to be doing, if in fact you don't want anybody to know,
Yeah.
right? Because the second you schedule an appointment when you need to be at formation or in the field or doing something that your commander or your sergeant wants you to do, well, now people are going to know. But you can always schedule something after work via phone, via Zoom, where nobody has to know what you're doing to help yourself because it's about you.
Yeah. And you could always just say it's a doctor's appointment, you know? Like,
You could do that, but what I'm saying, Mama Foxfire, is that you could just say, "I'm going to lunch." Take your
yeah,
hour, make your once a week therapy schedule during your lunch hour and go wherever you need to go and put on your headphones and have that conversation with your therapist,
yeah, yeah.
right? Nobody needs to know what you're doing, even in the military. My guys
Mhm.
would break away for lunch for a couple hours, and I don't know what they're doing, right? You can even have therapy sessions on the weekend. There's all kinds of virtual ways to do these things now. And oh, by the way, TRICARE pays for these things.
Yeah,
So I guess what I'm saying is there's no excuse not to get treatment. That, oh, I need to be tough in the military. That's an excuse. Right. I've seen tough. Like I've been through it. Right. I've been through it. I've been in combat and been out there for, 30 days, 60 days, no shower, doing scout stuff, right? And if I could go back in time, the moment I touched down, I should have went to therapy. Like they offered it and I refused it, I should have went.
yeah,
But instead I drank it away. And luckily I was intelligent enough to be able to cover it up and go to different schools, et cetera, and advance my career. But had I gotten that treated, man, who knows where I would be right now, because that definitely held me back.
yeah, yeah. What's the difference between powering through something and actual resilience?
Now that is a tough question because resilience is the ability to bounce back, right? You hit a brick wall and then you're able to bounce back. So I'll give you an example. Back in 2009, I got laid off from my job at a bank because of the recession, right? The
Mhm.
financial crisis, got laid off. And for me, resilience was actually being able to keep interviewing, not think less of myself, pick myself up, get a job uh, in a different part of the country, and then work through that. Now, what I will tell you is when I got to that different part of the country in the Midwest, I was miserable. And so while the resilience piece got me there and got me motivated to get that job, I was trying to power through being in a place I didn't want to be. And that just beat me down even more. And that powering through got me holding a gun to my temple and wanting to take my own life because I was absolutely miserable. And so what I would say is resilience is a good thing. It's a good thing to be able to bounce back, pick yourself up, etc. Powering through, what that's going to lead to is what we talked about earlier, different symptoms, your body reacting a different way and saying, "What the hell are you doing?" Right? So just be careful about powering through and what that means, right? Because powering through when you know you have a mental health issue, it's going to catch up with you sooner or later.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the resilience piece of it also is the building back part of it because you get through this situation, whatever it is. I was also laid off in 2009 for the same reasons, and I had a 3-year-old, and so I had no choice but to power through what we were going through and to get to all of these interviews and to make sure that everything was going to happen the right way. And then the resilience piece comes in when it's like, great, you made it through. Now what are you doing about it? Like how are you getting
Right.
better because of the situation? And sometimes it's really hard to see. If you've had to move across the country and you're somewhere that you're miserable, it's hard to be like, okay, well, what am I going to do to make sure that I can build back again if I need to?
That's right. And I found myself in the Midwest with balls of hay. I was in Wichita, Kansas, of all places, right? And I'm from the Southeast, and so I want to be in the Southeast and the Northeast. And again, I was trying to power through, and then finally I hit that wall, and that's when I first got some counseling way back then, and it was helpful back then, but I wasn't committed to it. But at that point in time, I was like, man, this can't be it. And so I was actually applying the job all over the Northeast, getting on planes on Saturday, interviewing early morning Monday, and then flying back without telling my boss like why I was late to the office, right? So, and then I finally landed a job in Boston, and that kind of set me up. And I talk about it in my book. That kind of set me up to have the next 17 years actually being back on Wall Street. So that was resilience. But if I would have tried to power through that one, I don't think I would be talking to you here today. I was
Yeah.
that miserable and down and out of it.
Yeah. What does gratitude practice look like for you now? Is it journaling? Is it meditation? Is it something else?
So for me, a big piece of gratitude was writing my book, right? So having the ability to share my story, but also gratitude. I'm an adjunct professor at UNC Charlotte, and so I get to go in twice a week and teach young people about accounting and finance. But I'm also giving them lessons on life, and I'm actually having the mental health conversation with them. I told you earlier that today my daughter, I have a 3-year-old, was out of daycare today, and we went to the bounce house and we jumped around. We just had a blast. So much of a blast that we came home. She was like, I need to take it. She told me she needed to take a nap. And so, I mean, I'm just so grateful that I'm here today to experience those things and that I was able to kick those terrorists out of the cockpit of my brain and not have me do something out of the ordinary for me, to myself, or to someone else that the world and myself will regret, right? And so I'm just grateful to have that opportunity to talk to my therapist, to get the help that I needed, to have this conversation with you, and to see like the world for what it really is and not what I think it is due to my anxiety, depression, etc.
Yeah. Yeah. If there's someone listening right now who knows that they're struggling, they've recognized it within themselves, but they haven't admitted it to anyone else yet, what would you say to them?
I would say to them, pick up the phone, get on Google, find a hotline that you can call. Just have a conversation with somebody. They don't even need to know who you are, right? You don't even need to give your name. You're not going into a doctor's office. You're not signing your name. You're just giving a call to a hotline for some help and for somebody to talk to. And if that works for you, if you find that helpful, like definitely continue to pursue that. Right. And that's what I would say. Like there's a lot of different nonprofits, 501(c)(3)s out there that are committed to stopping people from dying because of this sickness. Like there's a lot of organizations out there that want to kick that terrorist out of your cockpit. And so I just need you to raise your hand. I just need you to pick up that cell phone. You probably got it in your hand all the time anyways. And just Google and just dial one of those hotlines. That's the best advice I can give you. That's what I did. That's why I'm here now having this conversation with you. That's why I wrote the book, and that's why I'm grateful.
Yeah. The hotline advice is really amazing because you just call. You don't you can give them a fake name if you want to. You can give them your real
Right.
first name if you want to. You can tell them your name is Flower Child and it's fine. But then you also get a little bit of practice, right? You get a little bit of practice telling another human being. And then you're like, okay, it wasn't that bad to tell someone else. Maybe I could tell a friend. Maybe I could call a therapist. Maybe I could call a parent, a mentor, whatever. Maybe I could call somebody else next, or I can just call that hotline again and talk again tomorrow. Like it's a little bit of a practice getting it out and see how it feels, because it generally is
Right.
going to
I mean,
feel
I'm
good.
at the point. Right. I'm at the point today where I tell people like, look, man, you're messing with my mental health, man. I can't take part in that.
Yeah.
You know, like with my franchise I'm a part of, they're having an all managers meeting in Orlando. And I'm like, I'm not going to that. Right. I don't want to talk about this all day. Right. I got my book of business. I got my clients or our clients. I'm trying to get us more. I don't need to spend 3 days in Orlando talking about it, right? Because these guys need a vacation, right? Like when when I go on vacation, I need to go on vacation with my family, sit by the pool, drink some mimosa. I don't know. There's things I like to do. It's not go with a bunch of like business people talking about selling fractional CFO services, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't need that vacation. That's not a vacation. That's added stress. And it's on my dime. So like I'm not paying for that either.
Yeah. Yeah. What's one thing leaders get wrong about supporting team members who are dealing with mental health challenges?
So leaders feel like that they need to go very deep into the topic. And to be quite honest, that's not really their job and it's not really their area of expertise. Like their areas of expertise is like finance, operations, human resources, anything but going into somebody's mental health, right?
Yeah.
And so what managers get wrong is two things. One, they ignore it,
Mm.
or two, they get too involved. And what managers need to do is take a step back and really connect that person with the well-being department at their organization,
Yeah.
right? There's a whole department dedicated to well-being. And if there's not a department dedicated to well-being, there's somebody in HR that can connect you with the professional that can help you. But what I want to say is you don't need your manager to be involved. You yourself, if you're feeling some kind of way, can take the route to well-being or take the route to HR to get that help on the low where nobody needs to know what's going on with you. But where I see managers make mistakes for sure is ignoring and not wanting to get involved. We're getting far too involved when the organization, especially these large ones, has things set up for people to receive the help that they both need and they deserve.
Yeah. Yeah. And then if you don't connect them with those resources, then they're missing out. Like some companies will be like, okay, you get 6 therapy sessions for free. We'll cover it through this program over here. But if your manager's trying to handle something for you, then they're not going to point you to those resources, and you're not getting with the person who it's their literal job to help.
I mean,
So
I, I agree. I mean, are you gonna keep paying rent on an apartment that you never plan on living in
Mm-hmm.
and that you're not renting out? Like, because that's what you're doing. You might as
Yeah.
well take your $200 a month that you're giving out of your paycheck pre-tax for those services and go burn it in a barrel if you're actually gonna suffer and then not use it.
Yeah.
It's yours to use. It's not even that you deserve it, it's that you're paying for it.
You're paying for it. Yep. Yep.
Same thing as and then listen, it's the same thing as the military. That's why military, the salaries aren't that great because you're paying for all the other benefits, right? People love the military's benefits, not the salary. So if you actually never use the benefit, then you should actually be doing something else that's gonna pay you a lot more if you're not gonna
Yeah.
use the benefits, right? So you should use the benefits. America put them there for you for a reason.
Yeah. It's part of your compensation package. Just because it's not part of your
That's right.
salary doesn't mean it's not part of your compensation package. So
That's right.
gotta keep
Exactly.
that in mind.
Exactly.
So Bite
Mhm.
Mark would like to know, what is your favorite poem?
So my favorite poem, is Invictus, and it's by, a gentleman named, William Henley, and what Invictus, what it says is one of the key phrases is "bloody but unbowed," but the real center of the poem reflects on resilience, and when you get knocked down, keep your head up, pick yourself back up, find a solution, and keep moving. And that's one of the things that I think that is a reflection of my own life. Before I named my book West Point to Wall Street, my journey to mental wellness, I was gonna name it Resilience to Brilliance. And then my publishing company said, "Man, that's really cheesy. No one's gonna buy that book, right? Like, it doesn't like we need something. There's probably 1,000 books named that, right?" And so he's like, "You're not doing your book any justice." But really, just Invictus just shows like resilience and things like that. So I really like the point.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great one. We are coming up on the last couple of questions. So, folks who are here in the chat, if you have any other questions that you would like to ask Omar, make sure you get those in and we will ask them while we are here and live. Omar, what is your favorite life hack?
My favorite life hack right now it's always been for probably like 20 years. It's been Microsoft Excel. And the reason why I say this is because I do everything in Excel, right? Anything can be modeled in Excel. And so one of my bosses from 20 years ago wrote me. A lot of people are reaching out to me now because I have a book out there and I'm talking about mental health. They're saying, "Oh man, what was the matter with that guy? Like why?" You know, and so and so my old boss, he's an executive at a medical device firm, and we actually, worked to turn it around, and now it's worth twice as much as it was when I was there. But they still have an Excel model that's called the Omar model. So it was an Excel acquisition model that we made to go buy mom and pop businesses, so anything from 500K to $2 million, so that we could rebuild the firm, right? Because we made a bad M&A deal, and it was, merger and acquisition deal. We bought a bad company, we overpaid for it, we got into a bidding war, and so it really cost us. Like, we were never gonna make a profit on that. It was sort of like if you're a basketball fan, and even if you're not, you'll recognize that Dallas trading Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis, right? That was kind of like what it was, and we were on the Dallas side, like we got the Anthony Davis out of it, right? And they got the Luka, and so because they had the cash, and so he wrote me and he said, "Hey man, like we're still calling this thing the Omar model. We're still using this thing." And I wrote back, I was like, you know, if it wasn't for Excel, I would die a very broke man. Like I like that was the one. It's the one thing that I just click with so well is designing things in Excel, particularly business finance models. And it's like the one thing that I love more than any job I've ever had is like working in Excel, and that's the military, whatever. Like that's like my passion is like working in Excel. It eases my mind. I don't know what goes on when I get into a a 2 or 3 day Excel file, but I love it. So that's my life hack.
I like that. I developed a bunch of tools for the company that I work for. And it's so funny whenever someone will pull one up and I'm like, how did you get a hold of that? Like, how did this make its way all the way across to you? I just made it to use it for myself. And now a bunch of people are using it. And it's so funny every time it happens. But yeah,
Right.
I also,
Me on that. Get paid off that.
I know. I should. Yeah, but it's definitely one of those. I make spreadsheets for vacations.
Right.
I use Excel for a lot because it's to the point where I definitely get made fun of a little bit for it within my family. It's like mom's going to make a spreadsheet, but yeah, I love Excel as well. And boy, I'll tell you what, no one complains whenever everything goes right.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yep,
Boom, boom,
yep,
boom. We
yep.
on track.
That's right. Well, it is time for the magic moment of the stream. If you could wave a magic wand and eliminate one common opinion or misconception surrounding mental health, what would it be?
That it only affects veterans, number one. But I want to add on to that and say that only a few people suffer from it. Like this mental health is a pandemic, epidemic. Like it is throughout our society. And so we really need to start paying attention to it beyond just talking about it, putting it on a banner, and really have serious conversations about this, right? It's only going to get worse with everything going on with the AI and all this information coming, and you have to have everything at your fingertips, right? You don't even have time to stop and breathe. And so if I had a magic wand, I really make this a normalize this conversation on mental health.
Yeah, absolutely. The statistics on that are when you put it into perspective, it's like 1 in 5 US adults will experience some type of mental illness in any given year. If you expand that across a lifetime, it's 1 in 2. So if it's not you, it's someone you love. Like that's it.
Right,
That's it.
right.
So everyone is impacted. Because if you're not experiencing the mental illness, then someone you love is, and you should know how to support them. You should talk to them about it. And so, yeah, yep, 100%.
And even if you can't, and one way you can support them is by, even if you can't talk to them about it, making them call in somebody that can professionally talk to them about
Yes.
it as well.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Omar, I'm going to post all of your links one more time. That includes the link to the audiobook that just came out this week. So I'm going to get those
Thank
posted.
you.
While I do that, I'm going to just give you the floor for a little bit, talk about anything you would like to talk about, resources, anything you got going on that you want to throw out there, and I'll get all these links posted.
Yeah, again, the one thing that I want to talk to folks about is just recognizing that there's a ton of resources out there for folks that are having mental health issues or just want somebody to talk to. And I actually put those resources in my book, West Point to Wall Street: My Journey to Mental Wellness. There's a tab that shows those resources, but also you can Google these various resources. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to be talking at the Stop Soldier Suicide conference here in Charlotte in April. And that's just Stop Soldier Suicide. It's another one of those resources, for individuals out here to really combat, again, this epidemic, this pandemic of folks getting their brains hijacked and doing things that they would not necessarily do due to mental health disorder. So would really like you to think about that, really try to reframe this mental health conversation to a conversation that's just worth having, and being able to point people to various free places where they can get help. But also, if you're in the military, if you're in corporate, recognize that this help for your health is part of your benefit package. So don't be afraid to use something that you're already paying into.
Yep. And I love framing it. I love the frame of that. Just say like it's part of your package. Use it. You're already paying for it.
That's right.
Might as well get
Yep.
everything that you're paying for.
That's right.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening to join us today. I really appreciate you being here and sharing your story and talking about mental health and veterans and burnout and identity loss and all of these things that don't get talked about enough. So just thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. You have a great night. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much for being here. Those of you who are still here with us, give me just a minute to disconnect with Omar and I will be right back. Stick around.
Thank you.
And that was Omar Ritter. What sticks with me most from this conversation is how long someone can look completely fine from the outside while carrying something really heavy. Omar was an executive at some of the biggest banks in the country. He had the title, the salary, the career trajectory, and he was also at various points thinking about not being here anymore. That gap between what people see and what's actually going on inside someone is real, and it's one of the reasons these conversations matter so much. The thing he said about powering through versus actual resilience hit me hard, because I think most of us have been taught in one way or another that pushing through is the same thing as being strong. And it's not. Powering through something you haven't dealt with is just debt you're running up. Eventually, somebody's going to come collect, and it's usually your body, your relationships, or your mental health that pays the price first. And the identity piece, whether you are a veteran or not, a lot of us tie who we are to what we do. Our job title, our productivity, how much we can handle without flinching. And when that gets taken away, or when it stops working, it can feel like the floor just dropped out. Omar had to rebuild from scratch more than once. Brain surgery, medical retirement, leaving a 20-year career. And he did it. He didn't do it perfectly, and he didn't do it without hitting some very dark walls. But he did it. If anything from today's episode landed for you, I want you to do something with it. Just something small. Maybe it's Googling a hotline. Maybe that's texting a friend you've been meaning to check in on. Maybe it's finally booking a therapy appointment that you've been putting off because you keep telling yourself you're fine. You know who I'm talking to. And if you're a veteran or your loved one, please check out Omar's book. The audiobook just dropped and the link is in the show notes along with his socials and everything else you need to find him. Now, if this episode meant something to you, the best thing you can do is to share it. Send it to one person. Post it. Leave a review wherever you're listening or a comment on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. The comments and the reviews genuinely help more people find the show, and that is the whole point of doing this. Subscribe so you never miss an episode, and if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like and leave a comment. I read them, I respond to them, and they really mean more to me than you can possibly know. Before we go, here's your reminder. Falling apart does not mean you're failing. It just means you're human, carrying more than anyone should have to carry alone. And even tacos fall apart, and they're still worth holding on to. I'll see you in the next one.